Fire Radio.
Fire burning in my soul. Fire burning in my soul. Fire, fire, fire. Fire burning in my soul. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere.
On Fire Radio. Anytime, anywhere. On Fire Radio.
Fire burning in my soul. Fire burning in my soul. Fire, fire, fire. Fire burning in my soul. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere.
On Fire Radio. Anytime, anywhere.
Our journeys through education take many routes from our early years to university. Academic Crossroads is here to explore key elements to help equip you along the way. So join us and our special guests as we also discuss the expected and unexpected paths, including all the challenges and triumphs while gathering your academic top tips.
This is Academic Crossroads with your host, Dr. Leanne J. Adeyemi.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Academic Crossroads here on Fire Radio. So thank you for joining me on this Monday evening. Good evening, Steph. Good evening, Marpe. Good evening, Ben. And to all of you that are listening, but maybe you haven't commented yet or you're not logged in, good evening to you too. So I am your host here on Academic Crossroads, Dr. Leanne J. So I've completed my undergrad, master's and PhD. I've worked with students across multiple different courses. I've also lectured at universities. And so here on Academic Crossroads, I myself, plus our guest hosts and all of you listening as well, are contributing to supporting you on your academic journey so that you can finish with excellence. So today, crunch time. It is January. And whilst it's lovely, it's a new year, it's a new term, a new semester, some of us have deadlines, some of us have exams. We've got things to submit, whether it's coursework, whether it's your UCAS application. You might be transferring unis, so you might also be going through that process. Whether you have started a new year at school, you might have started a new undergrad course, you may have even started your master's or your PhD in this January 2023. So it is crunch time for some of us. Okay, so today we will be focusing on looking at cramming, because as much as we would always love to have the most amount of time for our exams, the most amount of time to, you know, make our notes look nice and neat and beautiful and make sure they're all color coded and in the correct orders. Sometimes, let's be real, we don't always have those luxuries, okay? And we will also be touching on some quick tips for those of you that will be submitting your UCAS applications towards the end of this month when the deadline is. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Leslie. Good evening, Rodney. And good evening, Ev and Celso. So, starting, we will get into the tips for cramming. So, if you are one of those people and it is about time that you are looking at the time, looking at the date, and you're looking at the date of your exam, then, and maybe there's not as much time as you would have liked, okay, we will just run through some quick tips on cramming. And for those of you maybe that have had a bit of time as well, there'll be some nuggets in here for you too that you can take on board for the last leg of your revision and for your revision that will be coming up later in the year. So first things first, if you are cramming, one of the key things is for you to understand the important and foundational concepts and principles. So you might have a textbook that might be this thick. Your textbook might be this thick, okay? But regardless of how thick your textbook is, what you need to do and make sure you do initially is understand the key concepts. So a lot of these key concepts and key principles within a range of topics can be applied and adapted to different scenarios. So, for example, when we were learning some of our techniques as a sports therapist, when we were learning some of our techniques, some of the basic principles were, for example, stretch something that needed, that was tight, okay, or lengthen something that was short, stretch something that was tight. And so understanding that concept as a whole and understanding the more granular detail of it a bit more, it helped you then apply that to various different muscles, various different parts of the body as well. So rather than maybe learning, okay, focus on the arm, let's say, actually focusing on that key concept allowed you to then apply it to the arm, the leg, the ankle, okay, the back, wherever it may be. And so understanding those key principles and those foundational concepts within your area of work or within that particular topic, within your subject area as a whole, will really help you navigate through your revision a bit easier, and then it will also allow you to apply that principle to multiple different scenarios. So it may be something, let's say you have a concept within maths. So you're not necessarily going to learn with those specific numbers, but if you understand the basic principles, maybe something needs to be divided first, something needs to be times by something first. Do you need to shift things around? Having an understanding of those types of things will really help you in your ability to actually utilize multiple different numbers within that concept and actually work through it. So making sure you are understanding the important foundational concepts within what it is that you are doing. Okay. Also, the next thing is using mnemonic devices. So these are just memory devices. So this can be used whilst cramming, which is good, but also if you are in the early stages of your revision or in the early stages of your course, because you're going to Ray-G across the academic year, across this term, across the semester, then this is something that you can utilize the whole way through. And if you are cramming, you can also utilize it now. So this is basically just a way of using patterns, letters, ideas, okay, in order to help you memorize things and help you remember things, okay? So with the mnemonic devices, so these are memory devices. Now, these are done right the way through school. I remember looking at, was it the light spectrum? It was like Roy G. Biv, okay, and things like that, and looking at the reactive series as well. Okay, we used Please Stop Calling Me a Careless Zebra. Instead, try learning how copper saved gold. Okay, and it sounds long, but that, just using that really helped us all remember the most reactive to the least reactive, okay, in that series. And even now, I remember it from school. So sometimes it's just making things fun, making things memorable in a way that will be memorable to you. So are you more visual? Do you need something written down so that you can picture it, and then you can start using those as your memory devices and that as your strategies for remembering things? So really making sure that you're putting things together in a way that you can remember them. It might be a pattern, it might be something like that, Please Stop Calling Me a Zebra, okay? And these just help with associations, and they help you to link things that you're learning in with other things, or it may help you remember a list. It may help you remember a series of things. So for example, when as a sports therapist working with a client, we have to do certain things first, and when you're working with them, initially you have to ask them about certain things. So if it might be if they've had any previous treatment, or if potentially they might be on medication or anything like that, that might impact how you would apply the treatment. Or it may even be that they had an exercise class yesterday, or maybe they've got training later, and so you might not use certain things with them at that stage just because you don't want to impact something later. Okay, so even in those types of scenarios, it was still a case of using memory devices and using things that help you remember the series of what it is that you're doing. Okay, and so utilizing those for a wide range of things is really, really, really helpful. So for those of you that are cramming, it will definitely help you along the way. And for those of you that aren't cramming, but maybe you have series of things, or you have processes that you might need to learn, you know, during your course this year. And so those types of things can really help you along the way. Okay, so understanding important concepts, understanding and using mnemonic devices, okay, for memorizing things. And the next one, not so much a practical thing directly to the work that you'll be doing, but turn off your social media. Okay, we can say, oh, I'll go 5 minutes. I just want to look at something for 5 minutes, and then you can end up spending 20 minutes, half an hour, even an hour in some instances. Okay, so just turn it off, put it away. If you can put your phone somewhere else, put it away. If you can download apps as well, I know that's a thing that can be done. Downloading apps for you to make sure that all the programs or all the apps that you don't want to use, Marpe, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? All the apps that you don't want to use, then you can put timers on them, and then that will really help you to just put it aside for that hour, 2 hours that you will be doing your revision for. The app's not going anywhere. Social media is not going anywhere, okay? But your revision date is set, your exam date is set, and so the time that you have for revision is also set, okay? That time, it will just go if you're not careful, okay? So really be disciplined in that and try to be disciplined in that. If it means giving your phone to your parents or something like that as well, then just do it. Do what you need to do in order for you to excel in what you are focusing on now. Okay, it's only for a short period of time as well. Yeah, so just put the social media to the side, put all the videos, the reels, whatever it might be that you're watching, put it all to the side just for that time. You can always give yourself a break, okay? And then if you want to have a look at it at that time, I still wouldn't advise it, but if you do, then you'll have time that you can do that, and the time will be set aside, okay? So putting that social media away. Even putting that Netflix away as well. If you have things playing in the background, okay? Exactly, Steph. Even WhatsApp, mute the group chats, okay? Mute the group chats. Yeah? So even if you have that thing on Netflix playing in the background or whatever it is that's playing in the background, turn it off. Tunnel vision and focus on your books. Focus on your work. Okay, multitasking is not really a thing. Yeah, we just switch between two things that we're doing very, very quickly. So if you are trying to revise, and by now, if you're cramming, okay, then you need all the time that you have left and you need to be effective within it. Okay, so make sure you just put those types of things away and focus on your work. All right. And also, last tip for those of you that are cramming, and this is also again one for those of you that are just starting a course, but also for those of you that maybe you've been indulging in your revision and you know you're steadily on track. Okay, utilize the time that you have. So what do I mean by this? Utilize the time. Okay, utilizing the time. So basically, this might be listening to lectures, listening to videos, having things like that are related to your topic, related to your exam, playing in the background. You might be cooking, you might be washing up, you might be doing something else in the house, but you can always play a lecture. Yeah, if you have to travel somewhere, then it might be that you just play your lecture in the background, or it might be that actually you've recorded your revision notes across the year or throughout the year, or it might be you're recording your revision notes now. Okay, and those are the types of things that you have playing in the background, just so that you're sort of simmering in the information a bit. Yeah, if you're simmering in the information, think of it like that. Okay, so if maybe even if you're at the gym or you've got somewhere to walk to, you're on the bus, okay, places like that, you can just play the content and the information over as you go, just to help you reflect and go back over what it is that you were learning on that day or the day before, or it might be something new. So that might be your way also to introduce yourself to a new topic area as well. Okay, and then actually one more, finally, make sure you take breaks. Yeah, so if you are cramming and you are doing solid revision, doing it for hours and hours and hours and hours on end is also not that beneficial. Okay, so it's better for you to do a solid half an hour, a solid 45 minutes, then take a break, might be 15 minutes, 20-minute break, and then go back to what it is that you're doing. Okay, so make sure you take breaks. Get up as well from the place that you're doing your revision. Walk around a bit. Might be that you go and get some fresh air. Okay, you might go into a different room in your house. Whatever it may be, okay, take a short break in between. So making sure you understand the key concepts, making sure that you use mnemonic devices, making sure that you also turn off your social media, utilize as well the time that you have, okay, and take breaks. So Choma, you've said the Pomodoro technique is really helpful with revision. Okay, I haven't actually heard of that technique. So Choma, if you can just give us a short snippet, okay, in the comments of what that might be. So thank you for sharing that. So for those of you that are listening as well, and you can see the chat, this might be something for you. So take notes and go and have a read. Okay, but Choma, if you can just explain it a little bit for us, that will be really helpful. So thank you. And also, if you are cramming, okay, there is hope. You still have time. Yeah, just make sure you are really focused during this time. Make sure that you cut off the things that don't need to be entertained during this time. Okay, the things that are unnecessary for now. Yeah, your exam date, like I said, your exam date is set. Your revision period is set. Okay, so really utilize this time and take this time to focus on what it is you need to do so that you can finish with excellence and meet your exam as prepared as possible. Okay, I will be back in just one moment.
On Fire Radio.
Fire burning in my soul. Fire burning in my soul. Fire, fire, fire. Fire burning in my soul.
This is Academic Crossroads. This is Fire Radio. Academic Crossroads. Anywhere.
Okay, so we are back. So thank you to everybody that is tuned in. So we have just quickly run through some top tips for those of you that are cramming during this time. Now we are in the thick of exam season for a lot of you, in the thick of coursework deadline season and even UCAS deadline season. Okay, so for all of you that are doing your exams, then make sure during this time you stay focused. Okay, it's not much longer now. Okay, so stay focused and make sure if you have any questions as well, ask. Go and speak to your teachers, go and speak to your lecturers, speak to people on your course or in your class. Okay, and make sure if there is any information that you're not sure about, any concepts that you're not sure about, then make sure you go and ask somebody. Okay, ask somebody, look back over your work as well, because I'm sure for most of the questions that you have, you will find the answers. Yeah, and for those answers that you can't find in your work or can't find on your lecture notes or in your class notes, then make sure you do go and ask your teacher or ask your lecturer. Okay, so moving swiftly on. Okay, UCAS applications are due very, very soon. And so now is the time. You've probably done a first draft, a second draft. You've probably asked for referees, for your references as well. Okay, so whilst we're in this stage of more closer to submission than not, okay, just a few key tips. So we're only going to go through 4 key tips because we have a previous episode on winning applications and boosting your chances of getting in. So those 2 episodes can be found on the Marpe Assembly YouTube page. So make sure you go back and have a check through for those. But today, so 4 things that many people do in their applications, okay, so the first one is telling a story. Okay, so as much as a lecturer would love to know about the history, okay, and love to know about the vast narration, okay, of life, that is what a lot of people do. but you really need to be selective with what it is that you're giving to the person that is reading. You need to be selective and make sure everything that you've put in your application is appropriate. Okay, so with the issue with telling the story, the life story. So a lot of applications, even when I was applying for unis and stuff and reading them as a lecturer as well, it's they sort of start with, I've always wanted to do this course from when I was 10, or my interests started when I was 5 years old and I've always enjoyed. And whilst it's really interesting to know where the origins of your desire to do this course came from like the long history of it, it's not always the best thing to show, firstly, why you're interested in the course. Secondly, how do we know you'll actually finish the course? And also, why are you interested in the university? Okay, so you need to make sure that you are very selective with your examples that you are putting in, and know that actually, as much as it's important, okay, to know that you are passionate and you're really interested in this particular course or this particular area of research, okay, whilst that is really important to know and really interesting to know, you need to show how. Okay, so you can show that interest by giving examples, because let's say you were really interested in, let's say, English. Okay, let's say you're going to study English, or you're going to study computer science. Okay, so if you had actually spent the time outside of school, spent the time outside of sixth form, maybe tutoring younger students in English, or maybe it's computer science and you had taken an extra computer science course, or maybe you did a short summer course, or it was something that you had already learned and so you were helping younger students again with computer science. Those are the things that show your interest beyond you just studying it at school. Okay, so you really need to make sure that you are showing those who will be reading your application and not just telling them of all these great things you have done. Show them, say how you've done that. Okay, if you are really organized, how can you show that you're organized? Yeah. So really making sure that you are doing that. Okay, so when you are reading through your application, you need to think back and think, okay, I know that I've said this, but have I actually shown it? Have I given a specific example of how I've done that? And have I demonstrated that? Yeah, so as you're reading through your application, just think of that and think, is this just a narrative? Am I just giving them the narration or things, or am I actually showing them how? And am I being selective with my examples? Okay, so the next thing is repeating yourself. Now, while some things are very interesting and very necessary, okay, if you are telling them again that you received A stars, or you're on track for 8s and 9s, okay, or whatever it may be, all of that information is in the other part of your application. Okay, so this goes for also those of you applying for jobs as well, is that in your personal statements, in the areas within your application that actually you need to give more of a text answer, so it might be more of a long answer, then these are not the areas for you to be telling them you got A stars and you got 8s and 9s. Okay, they can see that in the other part of your application. They know that already. So utilize this part of your application, utilize your personal statement to really show them new things and give them evidence behind. They want to also know the person behind those great grades. Okay, and if you didn't necessarily get the best grades, how can you demonstrate that actually those were just your grades, but this is also what you can do? Okay, you need to think of it from that perspective as well. So really making sure you're not repeating yourself. Okay, and one of the last tips. Now, this is a very simple tip, and I've mentioned it quite a few times, okay? And I'm going to say simple grammar mistakes, okay? I say simple because grammar is not always the easiest thing, okay, to navigate through. But there are some mistakes that are consistently made, or maybe they are easily solvable by just having someone look over your work. It might even be that you download software, something like Grammarly or something like that, within on your laptop, okay? And those types of things can really help you with your grammar. If you get someone else to read it, if you are at uni and you're applying for something, if you're at school or sixth form and you're applying for something, then you should have an academic writing center of some sort in some way, shape or form at your institution. And so that is somewhere that you can go. You can get your teacher or your lecturer to have a look over it as well, and they will be able to help you. But please make sure you are editing and proofreading your work. It shows that you care about what it is that you're presenting. It goes beyond your application because it shows that actually this person is somebody who, whilst they're at uni or whilst they're taking the course, whilst they're doing this job, that they will actually be thorough enough and go back and look at what they've submitted before they've submitted it. They will pay that attention to detail. They will actually be able to also correct their own work whilst going through it, you know. So having good grammar in submissions is more than just the fact that you've just gone and looked back over your work, or maybe you've got someone to look over your work, okay? It says a lot more about your application, okay? So making sure you do more than tell a story. Be selective with what it is you are putting in your application. Also, show, don't just say. Make sure you are giving specific examples. You are demonstrating how. You're not just talking about your passion. You're showing how you are able, how you are passionate about that, and how you're also showing the demonstration of that passion and of your abilities and your skills. Making sure you're not repeating yourself. They know all the grade stuff. They know all the courses that you've taken because you've put it in the other part of your application. So this is the chance for you to actually demonstrate, to show new things, okay? And to go in more detail about what it is, why you want to do that particular course, why you want to do that particular role, why you want to attend the university as well, and what value can you add to the institution as well as the course. Okay, and also edit and proofread before you submit. Okay, it doesn't take long. Just send it to somebody, read over it yourself, print it out. I found that really helpful generally, to print things out, because looking at it on paper for me is very different to looking at it on a screen. Okay, sometimes once I've read something so many times on a screen, it just starts to not really make sense anymore, and it just seems like I'm just reading words of some sort. Okay, so I really like to print it out, getting my highlighters, the yellow and green ones, definitely, and just using that as a way to edit and proofread the work. Okay, so Choma, you've actually given us an example of the Pomodoro technique. Is an efficient time management method used where you can choose how long you want to revise, for example 25 minutes. Then once the time is up, you can have a 5-minute break. So thank you so much for that, Chioma. So if that is something, I think everyone would pretty much benefit from that, to be honest. Okay, so giving yourself that set time to do your work, and then giving yourself that break as well. So you know, okay, this is when I'm going to revise for, and then I will have a specified break time as well. Making sure that break time is actually specific, okay, and sticking to it and having that discipline within your work. So definitely. Also, what comes into this as well is actually being conscious of how long you can actually concentrate for and how long you take in information. So for some of you, 25 minutes, that might be the max, and you think, okay, at that point I then start to trail off, I then start to daydream, I start thinking about other things, or I'm just reading the words on the paper. Okay, so if 25 minutes is it, then let it be 25 minutes. If maybe you sit and you think, actually, you know, 35-minute bursts is good enough for me, okay, then you go and do your 35 minutes and have your 5-minute, your 10-minute break. Okay, just be specific, be honest with yourself as well. Okay, it's really helpful. It's helpful to identify and know how long you can work for, okay, within that. So thank you so much for that, Choma. And so that's just a continuous cycle. So consider that for those of you that are cramming, for those of you also for your revision that is to come, when you are putting your revision plan together, that might be a technique that you actually want to implement into it. Okay, and consider it for future reference. So we've had another question. So Marme, you've asked, what is UCAS again? So UCAS will be the place, so it's online, isn't it? And this is where you submit your university applications here in the UK. And you upload your results, you have references there, you upload your personal statement as well. And it's through that you can select the courses you want, you can select the universities that you would like to apply for, and then you receive all of your responses as well through the UCAS platform. And then you can, from there, once you have all of your results, then you can select which one you definitely want to confirm as your, we call it a firm choice. So this is the one you definitely want to pick as your first choice of university. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Marme. And for, so Ben, you said in terms of editing, you found that going back over it a day or two after can help to gain a fresh perspective. Definitely. So giving yourself, just to give yourself a breather, give yourself a little bit of time as well. So definitely, Ben, going back over it a day or two later with fresh eyes, as they say, can really help. Goodness, you've also asked, how would you say you should prepare for an online exam? So for online exams, so one of my top tips for online exams, if it is an open book assessment, my first top tip is organize your notes. Okay, make sure that you have your notes in a way, organized in a sequence, in however it may be that you need it to be, in a way that you can access them quickly. So making sure your notes are organized. My second, I'd say that's 1A, and then we have 1B. So these are my two top tips for students. So first of all, organize your notes. Make sure you know where your broader topic areas are, so that then you can refer to them quickly. Okay. And also my second one would be, even if it is an open book exam, okay, if it's online and it's open book, try not to use your books and try not to use your revision notes where possible. You'll be surprised at how much time you will save just by going for it and, you know, making sure that you know the information, being confident in what you've learned, what you've put together. Okay, try not to second guess yourself whilst you're doing your exam online, because it can, going to look back at through your notes can really delay you a lot of the time. So if it's something you definitely know, go for it. Okay, and if it's something that you just want to quickly check, that's where your organization of your notes will really come in handy, because you can literally just go to them quickly. If you aren't allowed separate notes and you have a textbook, okay, then you just need to know where each topic is within that textbook. And also ask if you can have tabs and notes and things like that in your textbook, because that will then help you along the way as well. And if you can have whatever you want in your exam, you can have textbook, you can have revision notes, okay? Then just with whatever you do bring, make sure you are familiar with them. Make sure you know where things are within them, so that you are not wasting time when you're going back to refer to them. And another tip for online exams, okay, this is something so simple, and I think for some of us we'd think like, we tend to use keyboards and things like that every day. But if you're doing an online exam and you're not familiar, then I would say practice your typing skills. Definitely get used to the keyboard, practice your typing skills. It might be that you're going to do an exam and you haven't been back to uni for a little while, or it might be that you're at uni but you don't really type that much, okay? Get acquainted with your keyboard, okay? So there are loads of programs online. There are loads of different ways in which you can improve your typing skills. But whichever way you do it, just make sure you are doing something, okay? And get used to typing so that you can increase your typing speed. And then that will help you within your exam, okay, to make sure you are able to pour all of the knowledge that is necessary out into your answers. And it won't be the fact that there's a slight delay in typing that will not enable you to finish. Okay, so those are my 3 main tips for online exams. Goodness, so I hope they helped you. So you said my university has not specified whether it's open book or not. Okay, with that, I would say ask as soon as possible. Find out. If you can email your lecturer tomorrow morning, okay, go and email them in the morning and find out. Or if you check your module guide, more often than not, it will say in there whether the exam is online or not. So have a look in your module guide first, check if it says in there. If not, then definitely just email your lecturer or email your course leader and find out. Because the earlier you know, the earlier you can then sort yourself out for getting ready for your exam, okay? So you can sort out your notes, sort out your books, whatever it might be, if it is open book. And if it's not open book, then you can just get comfortable and more comfortable with the information that you will need for that exam. So Choma, you've said, I would say for an open book exam, if it's essay based or may have an essay section, try to prepare essays, paragraphs, and get your lecturer to look over them beforehand. So yeah, definitely preparing as much as possible. And you've also said, and you can structure your paragraphs and essays according to the learning objectives of the module. So for those of you that are sorting out your exam notes and your revision notes, then looking at learning objectives, looking at modules, looking at how to organize your notes. Choma, thank you very much. That was a really useful tip and really helpful. So see, here on Academic Crossroads, it's all about community, okay? As you know, we've definitely all been through some form of academia, some form of educational experiences, okay? And so definitely, if you have something to contribute, then please do, for the benefit of yourselves, for the benefit, okay, of other listeners as well. Please contribute, okay, because Academic Crossroads is here to support and equip you along your academic journey so that you can finish with excellence. And that is about all we have time for today. So it has been about crunch time. We are at the beginning of 2023. However, the exams are here, the coursework deadlines are here, and the UCAS deadlines and other application deadlines are also here. So I hope that today's episode has been useful for you. I have been your host, Dr. Leanne J, here on Academic Crossroads. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments and for helping to support our academic community. And I will be back next week, same time, same place, here on Fire Radio. So until then, I will see you later and have a blessed week.
You have been listening to Academic Crossroads. Join us same time next week for more academic top tips with your host, Dr. Leanne J. Adeyemi.
And stay tuned, Youth Beat is up next.
Fire Radio.
Fire burning in my soul. Fire burning in my soul. Fire, fire, fire. Fire burning in my soul. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere. Anytime, anywhere.
On Fire Radio. Anytime, anywhere.
Going forward, no more retreat. I'm raging war on the enemy, taking back what was stolen from me. Are you ready? Are you ready?